Let me introduce you guys to Nelly Yusupova.
Thank you, Basil. Wow, what an introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm the only thing that's standing between you and lunch, right? So we better make this fun, right? Oh, come on. Yes. Thank you. All right, so we have 6 tactics for increasing your effectiveness on Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter? Awesome. How many of you are interested in learning more about Twitter and getting more followers, increasing your brand? Yeah, I should see a lot more hands up here. Yeah? How many of you want to get more followers on Twitter? Great. Well, in the next 20 minutes, we're going to have a lightning session of tips and tactics on exactly how to do that. So a little bit about me. I'm a Chief Technology Officer of a company called Wbbgrrls International, which is a community of professional women in or interested in technology, or are leveraging technology to become more successful in their careers in businesses. I'm also the founder of digitalwoman.com, and I am Digital Woman. And Digital Woman is a full-service web design and development company. And also the New York City chapter leader of Wbbgrrls. How many of you are in New York City? Great. Well, you're all welcome at our events. We have events every single month. Actually, we have one today. If any of you are interested in advanced search engine optimization, come up to me and we have a workshop this evening. I am also the founder of Tech Speak for Entrepreneurs, which is a 3-day bootcamp designed to teach non-technical entrepreneurs how to work and communicate with developers. So if any of you are in that position, come and talk to me afterward. And I'm a kick-ass martial artist. So that's something a little bit personal about me. All right, so the number one most important thing that you need to realize to be successful, not just on Twitter, but on any marketing that you undertake, is understanding the goal. What it is that you want to get out of the tool. Because depending on your goal, you will decide what the strategy is going to be. How are you going to execute on the strategy? So if you want to get new customers or build brand awareness, those could be 2 completely different strategies. One of the examples that I always give is some people who want to drive traffic from Twitter to their sites. And then they spend all of their time marketing and marketing and marketing on Twitter, but their landing pages that they're sending people to on their website are really, really bad. So if your goal is to get customers from Twitter, you need to make sure that you don't just focus on marketing on Twitter, that the landing pages that you're sending people to actually will allow them to take the action that you want them to take. Okay? Tip number 2, define your brand. So this is me on Twitter, right? I'm the CTO, New York City Wbbgrrls chapter leader, creator of Tech Speak for Entrepreneurs. Ignore this. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you look at the top section of the page? Just shout it out.
Your name.
What?
Name. Your name.
Name, okay. Picture, what about the picture? It's what? It's me. What about it? Like, look at the quality of the picture. Professional, what other adjectives? Smiley, come on, everybody in the back. Just shout them out, whatever comes to mind.
Pretty.
Pretty, thank you. Anyone else? Uncluttered, what about the rest of it? So just look at the entire picture, and what is the one thing that comes to mind?
I can trust you.
What?
I can trust you.
Inviting, in the back. She knows her stuff, excellent, thank you. So these are some of the keywords that you need to think about when it comes to branding, right? These are things that I came up with, the image that I wanted to portray to the people who see my profile. I want it to appear that I'm tech savvy, that I'm a superhero, right? My Twitter handle, Digital Woman, connotes that there's some kind of a superhero quality to it. I'm a strong female, I'm empowering, inspiring, a role model, friendly, and approachable. So it's not just what you say in the bio, it's also your Twitter handle, and it's also your photo. The entire thing has to come together, and that's your brand. This is the #1 most important thing that you need to get right in order to build followers, in order to connect with people that you want to connect, and having your brand right is absolutely critical. Okay? So, tip #3, building targeted followers. So how many of you want to have 100,000 followers? Really? Okay. How many of you want 10,000 followers? What are you guys all doing here? None of you want followers. Let me ask this again. How many of you want 100,000 followers? Very cool. How many of you want 1,000 followers that are interested in what you do versus 10,000 followers who don't really care about you? Really? Well, let me tell you what. I would rather have 1,000 followers who care about what I do and will engage with me, who are my targeted followers, than 10,000 people who will never care about what I do. Because as a business person, my goal is to interact with my followers to get something out of it. And if I have 10,000 people, which are just empty numbers, right, and if they don't care about my business, about the things that I care about, and the relationships, then what's the point? Why would I have even 100,000 followers who are not targeted followers, and versus 1,000 followers who will, anytime I'm either promoting something that I'm doing, or I want to ask them for their opinion on products that I'm building, they're there for me. They're my community. And so when you think about building followers, you need to decide, do you want to build targeted followers, or do you want to be on the other end where you just have the numbers? Because to get the numbers is very easy. You just hire some of those spammy companies, and they will build your followers in a day. You can go from 1,000 to 10,000. But I can promise you, from a business perspective, it's not going to move you forward. Okay? So I'm all about building targeted followers. These are some of the tools that you can use to find targeted followers. So there's Twello and WeFollow. All of these allow you to specify by category the types of people that you're looking for. And Twitter Advanced Search is actually really good as well, because they allow you to even search by zip code and find people who are, if you're especially a location type person, like location business, you can find people who are nearby and start to follow them and engage with them. Does that sound good? All right. So the key to building targeted followers is publishing interesting content, right? Interesting content is the key to anything online. You need to create and produce content that people care about. And you can't be all over the place. So it comes back to branding, right? Remember we talked about the branding and the image that you want to portray. So you have to understand, based on your goals, based on your branding, the types of content that you are going to produce. How you're going to speak, what you put out on Twitter is also part of your brand. So if you are professional up there and then you curse when you post, there's incongruencies with the brand. Okay, so you have to be really aware that the entire thing that you put out online, not just on Twitter, these are all tips that will work on any social media platform. They have to be congruent. Okay? this is something that I always say. This is the process that I go through before I click the post button. Right? I write the post, I think about it, and I understand so that I can tie back to what is it that I'm trying to convey. Because every single time I click post, that's my brand going out into the internet, which lives there forever. So you have to make sure that you think before you post. So using relevant keywords and hashtags in your post is really important because there's something called findability and searchability on Twitter. When people want to look for you, let's say you are a social media consultant and people are looking for social media consultants, you need to be able to mention social media, you need to be able to mention Twitter, Facebook, right? Those are the keywords that people might be looking for to be able to find you. So you need to understand, and not spam, right? You can't be spammy about this. But just think about when you're phrasing things to include some of those keywords that you want to be found on Twitter. So for example, here, I'm speaking at this conference, sharing lots of tips on how to maximize Twitter. Right, so I hashtag Twitter as well. So did the earliest session talk about hashtags? Are you all familiar about hashtags? Who here doesn't know what a hashtag is? Nobody here knows what a hashtag is. Oh, I'm sorry. So who here knows what a hashtag is? Excellent. Does anybody not know what a hashtag is? Okay, so for some of you who don't, a hashtag, oh, okay. So a hashtag is a way of grouping tweets. Okay, it's also, so there's a lot of people who are following the Twitter hashtag. And this is a way, here's another extra tip. This is a way for you to get discovered by people who are not following you. So there are people who are following the Twitter hashtag, and if they happen to pay attention at that moment when I posted this, they will be able to discover me through that. Okay? So for search engine optimization and for findability, you should be using keywords and hashtags in your posts. There's a concept called marketing to the eavesdroppers, and you have to be really careful when you market on social media. So you can't always be me, right? You have to find a balance about marketing and producing content that's relevant and with the target demographic that you're trying to reach. But there is an actual trick that you can do. There's something called marketing to the eavesdroppers. For example, if I find a tweet on Twitter that's of someone that says, I'm looking for networking meetings to attend, can anyone recommend any? And I'm like, yes, I know lots of networking groups, right? And I have a networking group myself. So this is what I would do to respond. Twitter handle, right, so I'm responding to them. Check out New York City Wbbgrrls networking event on October 20th, and the link. So I am promoting my own event, but it's actually, to the people outside, they don't see this as a promotion. They see this as me helping someone. But guess what? All the people who are following me and following them will see this as well. They are the eavesdroppers. So indirectly, by being helpful, you can market your products and services. Yes? I could, absolutely. So there's a good point, thank you. So NYC Wbbgrrls is actually a Twitter handle, that's our Twitter handle, and I should have actually put at NYC Wbbgrrls without the space so that people can click on it and also follow it as well. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? Excellent. Okay, so make your posts retweetable. So who can tell me what's the viral component and what's the key to Twitter? Anyone? Shout it out or raise your hand.
Links.
Links, or what else? What's the power of Twitter? Where is the power of Twitter? Retweets. Thank you. So the retweets. Why retweets? Who can tell me why retweet is the most powerful thing? And actually, what does retweets do? The what? Expands your message. What is that called? Viral. So what makes social media so cool is that things can go viral. The ability to be able to share easily and pass on messages is what makes social media social media. And in Twitter, the virality factor is the retweet. Let me expand on that. Here's the power of retweet. This was a message that I put out once on Twitter. Brett, who has 7,000 followers, retweeted me and mentioned me in his tweet. 3 other people that he followed, that followed Brett, also retweeted it. And 1 other person that followed Chris Brown also retweeted it. So my tweet, at the time when I had 2,000 followers, had the potential to reach 19,000 people because of the retweet. Do you all see the power of the retweet? Yes? No?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. So that's why when you think about posts, you have to figure out how to make your posts retweetable. The things that get retweeted are really original, cool, quirky things. Great articles. So you have to be able to figure out what is it that's going to make people retweet this. And if you can consciously think about it and do things on purpose, then that will help you get retweeted more. Also, another tip, when you create posts, Twitter gives you 140 characters. I always tell people to write your tweets in 120. That leaves room for people to be able to either comment on your post when they retweet you, or include your Twitter handle in the tweet, without them have to do additional work to be able to shorten the message that they're trying to retweet. Okay? All right, tip number 6 is for management, right? So a lot of us are probably thinking we have our businesses to run, we have our other lives to run. Who has time for this, right? And what I say is tweeting time is important time when it's done right. And if you want it to get it done, you have to put it on your calendar. Everything that's on my calendar gets done. So it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It can be just 15 minutes a day. Guess what? 15 minutes a day is better than 0 minutes a day. Okay? So figure out the best times. Here are some tips also. The best times to tweet are 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. If you think about it, this is when people, 9 a.m. is when people come to work. Noon is when they take their break. 3 p.m. is probably the next time they take their break. And 6 p.m. probably when they get home. So think about how you can create your Twitter strategy and be present when people are on Twitter. And these are best times to tweet, but they may not be the best times to tweet for your audience. Okay, so you have to experiment with this. Use this as a guide and try to tweet at different times and see when you have the best results. Okay, so everything should be tested. And how many of you use Hootsuite? Okay, so Hootsuite is and how many of you use twitter.com to tweet? Okay, so for those of you who do, when you switch to a third-party application like Hootsuite, it's going to help you, it's going to make your job so much easier to be able to track multiple conversations, multiple accounts, multiple search results. So there's a lot more that you can do on that one platform. So I highly recommend that you check out a third-party application to manage Twitter. Okay, so now I'll take some questions. Anyone have questions? Yes? You. And then you.
If you have a brand on Twitter, should you actually use your brand picture or your face picture? So people recognize your brand more? Or should you?
That's a great question. I'll repeat it. Yep. So the question was, if you have a brand on Twitter, should you use your brand logo as the photo or your own photo for the photo part of it? It depends. It depends on what your goals are and what you're trying to push. Generally, this is again generally, and you have to test it out. Most people respond to faces better. And so if it's a person, it's okay that, for example, on Wbbgrrls, we have the Wbbgrrls brand. And when I tweet on behalf of myself or New York City Wbbgrrls has my photo on it because I'm the chapter leader of the New York City Wbbgrrls. But Wbbgrrls, the brand, has the Wbbgrrls brand on it. But you should test it out and see what kind of reactions you get both ways. Okay? There was a question here. They're very similar. I actually used to use Seismic. I'm sorry, thank you. The question was, I talked about Hootsuite. Do I have any opinions about TweetDeck? They're very, very similar. TweetDeck almost does the same functionalities as Hootsuite. The one thing that Hootsuite does, and I don't know about TweetDeck if they have a web interface. A web interface allows you to set up your accounts. They do? Okay, so TweetDeck does have an interface. So really, it's a preference choice. So try out one tool, but as far as I know, they have very similar functionalities. Other questions? Anyone else? Yes?
Is there a place to recommend going for Twitter communication? Like, you want to be a post that reading colon and then what it was?
So there is no real etiquette per se because there's no rules, right? Everybody makes up rules. That's the beauty of social media. Everybody makes up rules as they come along. And I think that the goal when you think about posting is making sure that it's scannable, right? Because if you think about how Twitter is being used and how you use Twitter, oftentimes you don't say, oh, I'm going to now read Twitter and you read every single post. You actually scan the tweets that are coming in, and you will take, or your eye will land on something that's easy to read, that's something that catches you. So if you can put colons and commas and whatever else, separators to make things more readable, that's what I would go for. Okay? There was another question? No. Okay, thank you.
Round of applause, guys.